Hello, Free Enterprise fans from around the world. Welcome to twitch.tv/freeenterprise2 for tonight's matchup featuring xPankraz versus Slippery. My name is Veritas Knight, joined in the booth by Dave on Restreamed. Beauty and Discovery as our tracker, and of course, with me is Organ Mike on commentary. Organ Mike, how are you doing tonight?
I am reasonably well. How are you, Veritas?
I am having a wonderful evening and looking forward to what should be a really good race.
Awesome. Well, this looks like an exciting setup anyway. We have
so we're
start and go ahead.
We are here for a wonderful Adamant Cup experience race, and it should be really interesting just taking a look at the objectives in front of us.
12 key items out of 17. So that's most of them. I'm not going to try and do the math on that. There's a prime number in there, and that's too much.
Especially for late on a Wednesday night. 12 key items is on every Adamant Cup experience seed, and is followed by 3 random objectives, 2 of which can be easier. So we do see, I would say, a couple easier objectives at slot 2 and 3.
Yeah, the boss of the Mist Cave should be pretty straightforward, although with Rydia starting at level 1, I assume, she might be a little bit underpowered for taking that on right away.
It'll definitely depend on who the starting partner is, but taking that boss as early as possible is valuable. In the Adamant Cup experience, part of the All-Forked Cup, one of the alternate fork flags we have set increases the Team XP by 25% for each completed objective. So the sooner you can check that off, the more experience your characters are going to get.
So that seems to be both an early objective and one that would be almost necessary to get off the table as quick as possible.
That's right. The longer you fade that objective, the more XP you're leaving on the table. And you're going to need that XP since we are going to have to complete the sealed cave, and then we are going to have to go all the way to the moon.
Yes, the Vanilla Masamune altar is an interesting spot to see on that objective list. What are you hoping they find there, Verita?
Oh, my absolute favorite thing to find there is the Alt Gauntlet.
That's lovely.
Just an unbelievable challenge that divides the good runners from the great runners, and the sooner you get there, if you try to sneak that one early, that's a really rough encounter to find.
But it does provide a lot of experience in that case, too.
That's right. Yes, if you can grab it, why not?
Yeah. I'd be interested in seeing something with something. I understand the appeal of Wars of Attrition, but I really kind of like my boss fights to be quick and dirty. One way or the other, decisive, over and done with. So I might like to see, a Golbez there, or Mist Dragon, something that's going to give them something that's going to just be up and down. Either they finish it quick or it finishes them quick.
So we have the replacement Witchbez flag on for Golbez, which means that Golbez's and Shadow's attacks are going to be changed. We're not using the unsafe flag for bosses, so they're not going to be more powerful, but they could be almost anything else that shows up in the game. So if it is a Golbez, it could be very interesting. And it looks like we are off.
And here we go. We've got Rydia coming down the stairs, and she is joined by Yang. And we have a Dark Knight giving them the Sand Ruby. Well, there's another character available right away.
That's right. Hopefully that character helps with the Mist Cave. Yang, he can have a lot of power later on. In Adamant Cup, you can only keep 4 characters, so I'm not sure how long we're going to see him stick around if they find a few gating items for those characters early.
So only 4 characters. How does that change the party composition strategy?
Well, you're definitely going to want to get the most powerful characters you can, and you're definitely going to want to get as much experience as possible on them to make up for the lack of that character. You still need to anchor. We don't have the hero seat flag on, so it is your center spot that anchors. So you may even need to keep one character down. So really, you could be down. Ooh, what a find.
Yeah, there's a nice start.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
on the other side, Pancress is finding Edge, and on the other side, Slippery has seen in Baron Inn there is a twin there waiting. I can't tell the twins apart.
I missed the twin, but that edge for Pancress is going to open up the overworld very, very nicely.
Well, and Slippery will probably be headed in that direction at some point fairly soon. Also saw a self-summon orb being picked up there by Pancress, being purchased, in fact.
I think he just sold himself so he could pick up an ancient sword.
Okay,
or a drain sword?
I may have got that backwards. Slippery is headed straight into the Mist Cave to see what horrors lie thereupon. And it is the Evil Wall. That would have been nice to see at the Masamune altar.
Yeah, there's one of those nastiest bosses right off the table to begin with.
Pancress heading up Mount Hobs.
Yeah, I think Pancress is trying to get as many characters as possible into his party before he goes for... Ooh, Blue Robe. Let's see which one.
And Rosa. It's the Water Hag. And Slippery has finished the Evil Wall and completed the first objective of the 4. Well, the second objective of the 4, but the first one... You all know what I mean.
That's right. So that with that XP bonus in pocket, it might make a little bit of a difference, but I would imagine Pancress is heading over as soon as he picks up his Rosa, has a four character party, and is ready to start putting XP on it.
So that's a pretty solid party, at least by standard rules of party composition. A white mage, a black mage, and a couple of fighters.
Looks like Pancress is knocking down that Rydia, possibly to sling later, but more likely to serve as an anchor, given the Edge and the Rosa. Maybe one as a replacement for the Yang. We'll have to see.
And Slippery has picked up Edge from Kaipo. And Pancress has defeated the Water Hag and is heading back down out of the back end of Mount Hobbs. Could go... Now, here's the question. The front end of Mount Hobbs offer him a free summon?
I believe so. I believe that is a thing you could do if you were interested in using Iridia. But if not, you're probably just going to skip that and go right to Antline. And it looks like Slippery is interested in using the Rydia because he just had his Rydia learn Sylph.
Yep. Now, with only 4 characters, do the experience... I guess the experience doubling isn't necessary, is it? Because we've got a 25% experience bonus on all of those...
Yeah, so the 25% experience increase per objective replaces the standard 10 key item adjustment based on what I'm seeing here. So I think that is the reason why it's a race for those objectives. The sooner you get them in, the sooner you're getting your XP.
And we have a Mist Dragon at the Antlion. Got pushed out of her own cave by a wall, and then decided to hang out here with the Antlions.
Just about 2 caves over. That's about it. Looks like Slippery's going to Dam Cyan to check the treasury there.
And our tracker pointing out that it doesn't actually replace the experience bonus; it adds to it. So that experience is going to get super high eventually when everything's said and done. Especially because 12 key items are a necessary find, which means that we're going to get a doubling already from the 10 key item bonus, and then another doubling from the 4 objectives being completed.
Like we talked about last time, Morgan Mike, you are in charge of math here because music is like math.
Well, I'm also seeing earlier in the chat Xenocat pointing out that one of the key items is the crystal, and you can't get that as one of the first 12. So there's only 16 key items to look for, which makes the math really easy on that one because 12 out of 16 is in fact 3/4.
That's right. Pancress is putting that Zeus Gauntlet on his Edge, so that Edge is going to have quite a punch for early game. We'll take out that Evil Wall pretty quickly, and I believe there was a full moon found as well, so back row glitch is on, so you can equip a ranged weapon on a character, and the back row flag remains once it comes off, so you can hide that character in the back row if you want, and hit with your front row weapons all day.
Slippery heading to check the watery pass, looking for equipment, it looks like.
I found a middle sword for that edge, which will help.
And Pancress is finally going to check Baron in and see which twin it is.
Looks like that's a Porum. Playing with her dolls.
But it's also a key item check.
That's right. We need the key item. We need underground access, so getting those key item checks in quickly, I think, is, well, it's key.
For sure.
Now, one thing that's interesting about the Advent Cup experience is one of our new fork flags is Sea Paladin. So Cecil is a restricted character, not necessarily going to be found early. Certainly not going to be a starting character. But when you find Cecil, Cecil's a paladin regardless of whether or not you've done Ordeals. Mike, how do you think that changes the calculus for that long Ordeals check?
Well, there is still a key item up there, but without the benefit of getting the upgrade to Cecil, unless you're looking at Tella as a magic user, I'm not sure that Ordeals... I think that renders Ordeals significantly less attractive. Oh, there's a pass.
It looks like Slippery found a Murasame out there, so
Yeah,
Slippery's
in
edge
the watery
is...
pass.
Yeah, that watery pass really pays off. And Pancress is through the antlion to get that pass, so that's another moon boss, traditional moon boss that we're seeing, sadly, on the blue planet. Slippery's going to go up and get his Rosa, it looks like, taking on that water hag.
I have to remember not to eat chips when I'm supposed to talk.
Well, I'm not the boss around here, Organ Mike, so I guess if that's what you say.
I'm not particularly a boss either, just a commentator. I barely even play the thing. Pancress headed to Fabul.
Yeah, so it looks like Pancress is probably hoping to find some underground access here. A lot of flag sets we do see try to fade Fabul for that pan check, but you're going for 12 key items. You got to get underground. This makes sense. And one of the very interesting things with this flag set is when you get underground, there's not just a Fey March freebie, there's now an additional freebie at Dwarf Castle. We've moved, as part of the Fork Flags, moved the free item from Troya Castle to Sid in the bed in Dwarf Castle. So, interesting. Really makes it worth your while to get underground as quickly as possible.
Yeah, 2 free key items and a bunch of other checks down there too. And we got a Lunar Sparkle at Fabul. The Lunar Dragons are hanging out here.
This is, obviously, if you are running the seed, seeing the D-Lunars in this location is certainly preferable to seeing it on that required Masamune altar.
Slippery is headed into the Airline Cave, meanwhile.
2 flames from that edge will take out the D-Lunars, and of course there's a free heal after this, so Edge will get all his MP back for whatever comes next.
Slippery taking all the treasures out of the Antlion Cave. There's a ninja sword for Pancress.
So I think, if I'm doing my math right, that means Pancress has to go to Ordeals.
Yes, I can't think of anything else that's... Now, what's the situation with unusual places to find key items? We're not looking for them in trap chests this time, are we?
Yeah, no monster boxes this time. It is only in K Summon, so Summon Monster reward locations, and Moon bosses. So, and the other thing to keep in mind is K Unweighted is on. So K Unweighted means that in traditional free enterprise, your classic key item checks from the vanilla game have a higher weighting than the Summon Monster locations, the Monster in a Box locations, the K Moon locations. In this particular flag set, it is equal everywhere, which means your traditional locations are less likely to have them compared to a normal run. So getting as many key item checks from those available options as quickly as possible is very important to maximizing your chances to get to the 12 key items.
And Slippery has a Zeus Gauntlet, and Pancress finds the King of Eblon standing there at the top of Mount Ordeals. no doubt headed for a calm meditation session, or, you know, to stand in the way of a bunch of heroes, one or the other.
I think if you are Pancress, you're not happy to see King Queen Evelyn at this spot.
I think probably we're hoping to see King and Queen Evelyn at the Masamuna altar.
Exactly right. So it won't take long for Edge to chop through his parents and move towards the next boss. Meanwhile, Slippery has gotten his Zeus gauntlet from the Antlion Den and is probably is off to Fabul, it looks like.
Yeah. And then probably to Ordeals immediately following.
And this seed, all roads lead to the top of the mountain.
I don't think Slippery has done Baron Inn yet. No, doesn't have the pass yet, so... Bahamut is guarding the other side of the bridge.
Pretty quick here. Looks like we are going to go for a Starveil Reflect strategy and just let Bahamut blow himself up with his big attack.
There's his angry face, there's the Mega Nuke, and the reflection, and 9,000 damage, and Bahamut falls into the deep ravine.
Again, that's a fight that can be more challenging elsewhere in the seed. Pancress handles it professionally, very quickly, pulling out making sure to wait a few of the ticks so that the Starveil does not drop off of Edge and accidentally leads to a wipe. So I thought that was very nicely done.
Smooth. And we will see who is waiting at the top of Ordeals. Slippery claims the ninja sword to go with that full moon in the Murasama.
Pancress has moved Edge to the center spot, so fast anchoring into this fight as he gets the magnet key.
And that looks like Leviathan.
Seeing quite a raft of very powerful rude bosses are coming up in these early game spots.
Meanwhile, we've also seen some fairly easy ones show up too in Water Hag and King and Queen Evelyn.
It's true. It's true. It's either almost completely free or it's something that you're very happy to see early. So a little bit of a mixed bag for the runners tonight, but I'm sure we will see some interesting things occur as they continue into the seed.
Still possible for the Fabul Gauntlet to be up there at the Murasama altar. Or Masamuna altar, rather.
That is what we're all hoping for. I saw Enan JD1 in chat is openly hoping for it as well, so let's go Masa Gauntlet.
We want to see them kick those evil masks.
I suppose if you need a late game grind, that's a good way to do it.
I would, yeah. So I'm guessing Slippery will probably be headed either for Baron or Ordeals. Well, yes. Oh, no, shopping first. And Pancress is no doubt going to go to Agart, cause a massive earthquake, no doubt devastate the countryside, and proceed to flee underground.
And the people of Agart don't seem to mind too much, Morgan Mike. It's almost like it's expected.
Yeah, they just sort of... I guess they must get earthquakes fairly often. It doesn't seem to damage any of the buildings in the city anyway.
Good construction. Good construction, Morgan Mike.
Well, when you live near a fault line. I don't. I'm in the middle of the prairies.
Yeah, I'm also not near a fault line. And I'm okay with that. Slippery is equipped up, and we'll see where he's going next. And Pancress is certainly heading underground.
Yeah, there's a fairly simple free key item in Sit in the Bed in the Dwarf Castle, so that's an easy check.
We had almost landing on castles in sync there, very, very close. We will see Slippery go and take the dolls and the antlion, and Pancress is going to show us what's in Dwarf Castle. Bacchus Wines, that's a really nice pickup.
especially with those 2 heavy-hitting fighters. And a life staff from Sid.
Good item for Rosa later on. Otherwise, a little bit of a zonk. You are probably hoping to find some sort of key item to guide where you go next. Strength ring. That's pretty nice for this party.
I could see a whole lot of key items sitting up on the moon in those boss spots.
Well, right now, Pancress is choosing not to check Dwarf. Double checking here. I don't think the warp glitch is on, so that is only 1 key item for 2 bosses and quite a long check. So that makes a level of sense, especially with the Fey March available. But once you get past that, top of tower, Sheila 1, you start to run out of options for, easier, quicker checks.
Mm-hmm. You have a kitchen inspector dwarf.
Pancress, the hero of the people, checking with the job dwarf. Slippery picking up a few items in Baron. We'll certainly be heading to Ordeals. I think that's the last thing available for Slippery.
Yeah, I don't think there's much else that can be done up here.
No, indeed. Pancress is now off, and it looks like heading to the Fey March. Gonna go get the freebie and likely check the King and Queen.
Check your free objects and see what's in front of you. Now, what's left? I don't think anything's left that's free, is there?
Other than the Fey March chest, nope. You've gotta work for key items going forward, and yeah, we have only seen 2. So.
Nothing boss-wise it's free either.
Absolutely not. Pancress is just Pancress has just found our first character in a chest. Oregon Mike, have you seen characters in a chest yet?
I have not. No.
So one of the interesting forked flags featured in Adamant Cup Experience is characters in a box. So free characters, characters that are not restricted, can be found in regular boxes, and restricted characters, which on this flag says Fu and Cecil, can be found in monster boxes. So there is an incentive if you are interested in getting your hands on a Cecil or a Fu. Taking monster boxes can enable that. There's a chance that those characters are there instead of in other spots.
And speaking of monsters in a box, Pancress is taking on the warrior fight. It has an hourglass to try and slow them down a bit.
Meanwhile, Slippery is working on the King and Queen of Evelyn. Looks like Pancress is going to get through that warrior's chest no problem.
Going to use one of his many purchases of Bacchus wine to have Edge just slash away at those warriors.
Now, Pancress didn't find that Murasame in the Watery Pass, so I'm sure there's a lot of good incentives here. If you do think you are going to find a Cecil later on, you want to find something nice for that Cecil to wield. Potential of good character in the monster box is there as well, so I think it's a really interesting option to take this chest, not to mention a good amount of experience.
And we're seeing some life glitching happening.
That's right, the life glitch. So if you've not watched Free Enterprise before, when a character is brought back to life by the Life 1 spell or the Life Potion, it restores that character at 5 times the character's vitality score. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think it's vitality. Yeah.
That's good.
All right. However, monsters in the game have a 0 vitality. 5 times 0 is 0, so the monster dies again. They never even appear on the screen, which gives you double experience. Or since Pancress has, done one of his objectives, it's 250%. I'm not in charge of math. We've been over this.
Yeah, it would be double 125. There's a spoon, so there's another key item. and a potentially good shot for a good one-shot attack for Edge at one point.
That's right, and that is the only use of it in this flag set. Edward cannot equip the spoon.
And Leviathan goes down for Slippery. So I think the main difference in the timing right now is that Slippery spent some time looting the Watery Pass. It's the main difference between the two for timing.
I think that and a little bit of routing. Pancress is doing an excellent job kind of hitting everything in a logical order. Slippery's done a little bit more looting, and I think when he backtracked a little bit for the Baron in, it's small amounts, but small amounts are kind of what add up in these sorts of situations.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I did not see who was there.
I think that was Asura in the King spot and Dr. Dialogue in the Queen spot.
So both of them getting a status upgrade a bit.
Yeah, Dr.
Speaking of Asura.
Clearly, in the Fey March, they were looking to a king, but theoretically already equal there.
Yeah.
Pancress is moving on, and I think, it's going to go take Dwarf.
That makes a certain amount of sense. I mean, you've got to do something at this point. There's no clear progression.
Yeah, you've got 3 key item checks available to you. You have nothing that gates. You've got to do something to advance through the seed. Dwarf is probably the easiest and the quickest of the checks at this stage.
Yeah, the other two being the first pan check, which means going all the way down to the bottom of Sylph Cave and then up to Fabul again, and the top of the tower, which is a bit of a hike. And without the tower key means there's only 1 key item to check there, not 2. So we got some red robes here. The Dark Imps have moved in from outside, snuck in the back door, and are going to dance for our heroes.
Now, Hourglass 2 is going to slow these Dark Imps down. I don't think they're going to do too much damage in general, so Pancress should be through them pretty quickly as Slippery heads underground just before the 24-minute mark.
Slippery heading in the back of Dwarf Castle. There's no treasures there in Vanilla either. But there's a couple over here. The defense sword. Oh, and we've got more life glitching happening for Pancress.
Yeah, experience is at a premium right now, especially if you're thinking about you might need to go through those summon monster spots in Fey March to get where you need to be. I would certainly be interested in getting as much as possible at this point. And 4 levels, that's a good pickup.
Mm-hmm. And Slippery has obtained his life staff and is looting the Dwarf Castle. And behind the Dark Imps, we have a purple robe. One of the Mylons.
Oh, and it's another edge. So duplicates are on for this flag set. So Pancress could choose to keep a spare edge, but doesn't.
That's Mylon Zed. It'd be interesting knowing that the Masamune is in the Watery Pass. If you knew that, maybe you would take that second edge instead of Young.
Slippery is really doing a full loot of Dwarven Castle. I don't think I've seen anyone in the Dwarven Castle tower in a race in a long time. But did pick up a rune axe, which could be really helpful against that Asura, especially.
And Mylon Zed goes down without too much of a fight.
We need to find someone to wield the rune axe, but we know there's a Cid who can in the Sylph cave, in the Fey March cave in one of the chests there.
That's true. And the hand of Mylon is going to steal the crystal, despite the fact that there are 4 heroes there who have fought much greater horrors. They just sort of let the hand walk up there, crawl up there, I suppose, And Luca is wearing around her neck a crystal sword. Now that's interesting.
That's right. So obviously, if Cecil shows up, he's immediately going to be online and throwing out gobs of damage. But you've got to find one, and you've got to find a key item that's going to move you forward. So it looks like Pancress is choosing to set up the first pan check. I would imagine what happens is, oh well, maybe checks it and drops a save at the bottom of the tower to do a quick reset. I think that might be the best way.
That seems pretty logical.
Yeah, you really don't want to do that top of tower without the tower key if you don't have to. So I think that's what we'll see Pancress do here, but hard to say.
Slippery is on to the dark imps behind the dwarf throne, and summoning some sylphs to do some healing and some damage. These are some pretty tough dark imps, but they should still be reasonably killable.
You should be able to get through this with that edge. Slippery using the sylph summon pretty aggressively so far in this seed, which I think is, well, definitely was forecast pretty early on that his radio is going to become a pretty important member of his team.
Also, not knowing what comes next after this fight, having the hit points can make sense. Sheila is going to give us the darkness crystal. Well, hello.
Yeah, I doubt we'll see Pancress go back and do the top of tower anytime soon.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that we're going to go see a bunch of those checks on the moon.
Oh, you've got the free character on the moon to start. There's a shop up there if you're still interested, although Pancress has found, I think, almost anything you'd be looking for. And then there is various moon bosses, although I'm not sure if he's going to feel up to grabbing any of those right away, but maybe peek a couple.
There's also some good grinding possibilities up there, I believe.
That's right. Beauty and Discovery, our incredible tracker, has noted in chat that this moon is going to be loaded, and I think with the sparsity of key items we've seen on the blue planet so far, absolutely correct. There is going to be some goods up there.
Well, there's got to be something somewhere.
Yeah. So,
I mean, worst comes to worst, it could be like tower key into or top of tower into Baron key for 3 item checks there. But otherwise, I'm not seeing what else. Or maybe like then you can get complicated and say like Twin Harp is somewhere too, and Earth Crystal.
well, we know there are 3 key item checks on the blue planet that are currently available to our runners that have not been checked: the King and Queen of the Feymarch and the top of tower. It is entirely possible that all of those host gating key items that create chains. It's unlikely that the moon is empty with the amount of but it is possible that in order to get to 12, you've got to do something on the blue planet that you'd rather not. Pancress is in a great position though to do a grind. He's got hourglasses, he's got sirens, he can call gold dragons very easily, quiet them down, and then take them out for an investiture of time, which is, I think, one of the classic moon grinds.
Time for experience. That's the trade-off you make.
That's right. And let's see who the character is on the moon. It is an Edward.
Edward, who I imagine will not be traveling with Pancress.
I expect that Edward will find himself relegated to the Tower of Wishes as per the standard free enterprise experience. I think it was my very first seed that I ran, Organ Mike, where my hero was Edward, and I learned a lot. I learned a lot about bouncing off of bosses that seed.
Yeah, I can imagine you would.
But there are people out there who love every character, so I'm sure there's someone for Edward too.
Yeah, well, there's a use for every character, especially when there's a flag which allows him to use the spoon as a weapon.
Unfortunately, this is not that seed.
This is not that seed. Pancress heading into the lunar subterrane and heading straight down towards, maybe to peek that Vanilla Masamuna altar.
This is a really interesting move. I believe you can, on the way down, pick up those gold dragons for that classic moon grind. But why not take a look, see if it's something that you think you can handle. There, I don't know, geez, with King Queen Evelyn and the Water Hag off the table, I'm not sure what you could take at this point, but
Plague.
knowing what's there, yeah, Plague, maybe.
Plague could be doable if he still. I think Pancress still has the Star Veil if he hasn't purchased more. So
Jared.
Plague is a viable target.
J.R. Tate in the chat says, one of the biggest things I've learned from running Ace is when you head to the moon, be ready to clear the moon. So it is an interesting gamble that Pancress is making here. If there's nothing down here he feels he can do, if the grind becomes challenging, it could be a big investment in time. Slippery, with some different routing decisions, might uncover some key items that do some logical, level-appropriate checks on the blue planet and help him catch up on levels and key item checks.
And I didn't see Slippery fighting Bahamut, but yeah, Slippery has 5 Star Veils, so Asura is also a viable target then.
Yeah, I think Slippery actually went and fought. When he's fought Bahamut, I think he used just kind of tore through it with Sylph and attacks.
An officer and soldiers here. Now this is not got a boss flag on it, so it could be taken down with an hourglass.
This is very much a gamble that may have paid off for Pancress.
Yeah, could probably. No, I could be misremembering, but they should be able to be frozen by hourglasses, and you should be able to get life glitches off them. I do believe.
You can definitely get the life glitches off. I'd have to go check to see if hourglasses work. But either way,
Blink will definitely do the trick.
It looks like Pancress is just going to power through with some blinks and some berserks and just do the damage he needs to do to get rid of these soldiers and the officer.
And meanwhile, Slippery has challenged Dr. Lugay in the queen spot and has taken a second edge to replace his Rydia. So going with 3 heavy-hitting fighters and a white mage.
Interesting change. I don't want to suggest one way or the other because, goodness, I wouldn't know, but it's nice to see the parties diverging a little bit, just as it's nice to see the runners diverging a little bit.
And the officer runs away, giving Pancress his second of the 4 objectives, and a whole schwack of experience for that previously low-level Rydia, who just got slingshot.
There were a couple life glitches in there as well to really maximize that experience gain. The Baron Key.
Forward progression as well. This may well have paid off entirely for Pancress, though mind you, we still have to see what's behind this Lugay fight.
There's still the possibility the Lugay fight has, or other fights that Slippery chooses to take on the blue planet, locks down the items needed, because not only do you need to get to 12 key items, you have to find that Luca key to complete the sealed cave.
Yeah. So this could straight up be the Luca key. This could be the Twin Harp, or it can't be the Baron key. Obviously, the Earth Crystal is the other one that could lead. It could be the Pan, or it could be a Zonk. It could be nothing of consequence. But we will only find out once Dr. Lugay has kicked that bucket.
JR Tate pointing out in chat that with the Foreman party you can't do a slingshot, which that sounds correct. But 23 levels Iridia certainly helps. Pancress resets out of the Mylon with his friends. Meanwhile, Slippery is having some trouble with the final form of Dr. Lugay, with everyone down except for that Yang.
And he's just going to throw a Bacchus wine on the Yang and hope that the Berserk is enough. Pancress going once more after Mylon and friends, and in the traditional D-Lunar spot. You're going to throw that spoon right away.
Yeah, you got the spoon, you might as well use it. Slippery takes a reset out of the Dr. Luge fight and is instead going to... Oh, looks like found another ninja sword for that extra edge, so I think that'll be very helpful.
We'll find out.
And Slippery picks up a cursed ring. Pancress had picked one up earlier, so now both runners have one. That agility manipulation is so key. It lets you level up whoever you want your anchor to be, and then bring them down, slow them down to make those fights on the moon and that mythical fight against Zeromus a little bit easier.
So speaking of math, how does all that work out?
Well, I can't quite do the exact calculation, but free enterprise is based on Final Fantasy IV, which was Square's first attempt to create an active time battle system. So if you think about Final Fantasy VI or 7, you think about those gauges filling up. They didn't quite get to that point yet. So the way it works is there's a calculated formula where the agility anchor, which in the default game is Cecil, but in this game is whoever is in your center slot, their agility is factored against the agility of the other characters on the screen. The lower the agility of the main character, the more turns you're going to get is the way it works out. If your character is fast anchored, so has a much higher agility, you're going to go first. But later on, you want to get those turns into those monsters' moves, so you want that agility to be low. Don't ask me to do the exact relative agility math on stream. I know that way lies madness.
Slippery setting up the first Sheila check. Unfortunately, not finding out what was behind Luge. And just
Looks
going
like
straight up to Fabul.
So that'll get Slippery his Darkness Crystal, and we'll put him on the course to the moon as well. Curious to see if Slippery takes the same gamble to go immediately check that massive spot. Meanwhile, the Friends part of Mylon and Friends have fallen to Pancress. He's still working on Mylon himself, but not a particularly challenging... And there goes Mylon. Yeah, so really well done by Pancress to get through that fight and gets another whack, 150,000 experience.
There's a package and a hook. 2 more key items.
Yeah, that hook is really great too, because if you do find a rat tail, you're going to want to be able to turn it in.
I keep doing the count to see how many key items Pancress actually has, but then remembering that when he gets to 12, we'll know. And in the plague spot, we see Ogopogo.
That's definitely not a fight you want to see on the moon. The plague spot is probably one of the better spots for it, but still, that's something you're really hoping to find early and a little bit easier.
Well, Canadian pride being what it is.
The Defender of the Okanagan now on the moon.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, that punched that Yang pretty hard, but looks like Pancress is going to use a Sur to keep healed up. I think there was a cure spell, and Edge is doing 3,000 damage a pop. I think he will get through this Ogo pretty quickly.
Yeah, and is Berserk. I'm going to use the power, the focus command for Yang.
Yeah. Looks like another Berserk coming down. So when you are Berserked, you're going to get more actions, and there's a bonus to damage as well. I really wish I knew how good Berserk was when I played this game when I was a young man, Organ Mike. It would have been nice to know.
Well, the main advantage it held for me back then was the idea that I didn't have to input commands for characters that were just going to be attacking every round anyway.
I don't even think I ever figured that much out. It was one of the many, many spells I just ignored as I cast...
Ooh, the moon is loaded. There's the twin heart.
As predicted by Beauty and Discovery, the moon has the goods. 4 key item checks done.
And
4 key items found.
Yeah. That is something. Looking at that, I would be hesitant to walk out without checking the rest. I think Pancress is going to check the crystal sword spot.
Pancress has been doing a great job getting through the fights, stacking up experience. Popping right down to that massa increases the experience take by 25%, so that's also been a huge help. If things keep going the way they've been going, Pancress is going to be Z-ready very quickly, and I would think very happy about coming back to the Blue Plant to take on those summon monster spots in the Fey March.
We have Young. We have the Karate. Punchin' hard.
He hits hard. We'll have to see if that is an issue.
Ooh, that kick was more than I expected. But, I mean, Edge and Young there have a lot of health, so they should... Well, we'll see how much... The hit landed on Rosa, so I'm not sure how heavy the damage is going to be elsewhere.
As long as Rosa can keep healing, I think this fight's going to be okay.
And Rosa seems to be out of magic points.
Well, to be fair to Rosa, she got to Cure 4 very, very quickly. She would have had a much smaller pool of magic points when it began. Slippery is going to presumably reject his Edward.
I suspect so. I really don't see an advantage to taking Edward at this point in the game.
No, not much advantage with Edward in this flag set in general, I think. And the Karate is down, Pancress is cleared, the Crystal Sword Altar, and...
That's in Murasama.
Well, not bad for your Edge.
No.
The first real Zonk, quote-unquote, on the moon, I guess if you're looking for key items, not to disparage the Murasame.
Slippery, meanwhile, is checking out Cave Bahamut to see who is standing in the King of Monsters throne and possibly what he's carrying.
Yeah, this was kind of what I had originally expected Pancress to do, at least peek Cave Bahamut, see if there's value there, or see if there's something that's doable. Again, really bold play by Pancress. Just go invest that time and be ready to do it. Yeah, Slippery finds the Magus Sisters. Oof.
Probably not what you want to see there.
No, I think I'd reset out of that too. Now, Pancress is warping out of the LST, so Rosa does not get exit unless you complete the Tower of Zot. So that is a little bit more of a time sink than maybe you'd like, but all things being equal, I think it's a worthy trade-off.
We haven't seen anyone else who can cast exit yet to this point, and of course, until we get the Earth Crystal, we can't complete the Tower of Zot, so...
Exactly correct. Looks like Slippery is going to go check the top of tower. Did not like what he saw in cave value. Is not going to go and peek the Massa spot. Will check the top of tower. That'll be interesting because I doubt Pancress is going to go there unless he absolutely has to at this point.
This is a pretty safe play, but as we know now, simply because we've seen Pancress do otherwise, we know it's not necessarily the right play, but it is a pretty safe play. Slippery should be able to take whoever's at the top of tower. And it's reasonable to at least think that there might be something important in the key item chain here.
Lord Goober in the chat reminds us that we did see a Porum earlier. If she had come along, she could cast exit at this point.
That is a good point, yes.
We clearly... no one is taking Porum today, at least not at this point. Looks like Pancress is off to the Murasame altar, and Slippery finds an Odin.
This could be a fun
at the top. Good to know there's a sparkle on the hook route. Not that there's any need to take the hook route, but if you wanted to, there's a sparkle there.
That's one less sparkle you'll find elsewhere. And we have the elements at the Murasama altar.
That'll be an interesting... yeah, that spot will hit pretty hard, but I don't think Pancress will have too much of a challenge with it. Throwing a wall on Rosa right away.
Odin has raised his sword on the right. Oh, and Pancress has exited out of the fight there with the elements.
Looks like
And
he has decided...
nope.
It looks like he's decided no. Odin gets off the Zen Ketasutsun, and I know I said that wrong. I don't have it in front of me. But the Zantetsuken, thank you, Organ Mike.
And it was not as powerful as Yang's kick, so
pretty low magic spot there, so
quite survivable.
Yeah, quite survivable. Slippery does it, and we're gonna see what's the top of tower.
There's Salukiki. Top of tower is required, and that sends Slippery in another direction, which could be a significant difference here. Pancress, meanwhile, going to check that twin heart.
This definitely gives Slippery, if not an advantage, certainly a chance to catch up and make up some time. Pancress could get to 15 key items and not be able to get his crystal, but Slippery now has that potentiality. This just got really interesting.
For sure. Interesting, too, that when we were talking about the various options available, that both Sheila 1 and Top of Tower, things that you would not necessarily like to do without having a little more key item behind it, that both of them were required.
The seed sort of pushed you to choose one, and Slippery doubling back, deciding he wasn't ready to take the moon, doubling back, finding that. I think you are going to feel a little behind, especially combined with the wipe that he had against Dr. Luge, but it has paid off in a big way.
Definitely. Now we got Pancress fighting fighting a losing fight against a Dark Elf, and we're going to be hearing from Edward for some music. We have randomized the tune that Edward will be playing, so we're going to get out of the way and let you all hear it and see what we get. Also, we want to hear it too. So we'll catch you on the flip side.
Right. I've been told this was from Paper Mario, so hopefully everybody enjoyed the lovely tunes as Pancress gets through that Val.
Ooh, and that is an absolute zonk, the Moon Veil. I mean, it's a nice item, but not what Pancress was looking for, clearly, because it just reset immediately.
Meanwhile, Slippery's been taking those Miabs in the tower and has found an Avenger sword, which would be really great if you had a Kane or a Cecil to use it.
He's also been sneaking sirens off off the alerts.
Sirens are available for purchase, but I guess it's never a bad idea to have an extra one in your pocket.
Pancress looks like he's going to take that hovercraft somewhere.
I would imagine he's going to Cave Evelyn. Probably going to check the character there.
I'm interested as to why.
Oh, he's got a crystal sword.
Okay, yeah, looking for... Yeah, that makes more sense, yep. Very good point.
Check the shops while you're there, but I would imagine that the hope here is you find a Cecil somewhere.
Now, is it possible that there's a crystal sword and no Cecil in the scene?
I think all characters are available, so I don't believe so. Someone in chat will correct me if I'm wrong, I'm sure.
Yeah, said Cecil is always somewhere in the scene. Thank you, Lord Goober.
But with the fact that restricted characters can be behind monster in a box checks, you don't know. And Pancress sees a Palom and resets out immediately.
Was it left-handed or right-handed?
It was an orange cape, and I think that's the Palom. Oh, Pancress has the Baron check, which is another character check, so... And one key item plus the summon spot in the basement. So lots here to look for.
Yeah, definitely. This is a logical move. We're still looking... Well, he's still looking for the loot key. We know where that is. Tower key, adamant, legend sword, and either of the tails. Slippery, meanwhile, going on to take on the Luca cave, the sealed cave.
Do your objectives. That's one thing I've heard every free enterprise commentator say from time to time. Do your objectives, and I think Slippery is exactly right to do this.
Well, it's got to be done, and the big experience bonus is a boon. And especially if he wants, you know, he could grind on the trapdoors on the way out.
You know, I've heard many a free enterprise commentator talk about the famous door grind, but I don't think I've ever seen it, and I've watched a lot of restreams.
Well, maybe tonight's the night. Pancress taking on the Dark Knight in the lobby of Baron Castle.
I guess justice is the only right in the world, because Dark Knight Cecil did not get to tell us otherwise.
Well, just because we don't know it doesn't mean it isn't true. And who is sitting on the throne tonight? We have a vanilla turtle.
Quite the niche, or quite the vanilla appearance here. We had a question in the chat from Lord Goober. Does Slippery still have the girl? No, Slippery has two edges.
Which means that Slippery is going to have to walk out this glass mask that he picked up. And the boss in Evil Wall's place. And there's our Cecil for Pancress, by the way.
Big find for Pancress.
Bomb is our boss in Evil Wall's position. This should not be too much of a challenge, I don't think.
No, just time consuming, but this is required. So
yes.
You gotta get through it. Pancress says goodbye to Yong, hello to Cecil, Crystal Sword is go. I would imagine he's feeling quite confident about getting through any challenge on this scene at this point.
And we'll see what Kenatsu was protecting here. The Earth Crystal. Oh, maybe that Rosa will get exit after all.
No way for Rosa to get exit without going to the bottom, the very bottom of the moon and coming back. So again, I think that's kind of validates Pancraz's decision making early on.
And of course, Cecil does also get exit. We're gonna go check the tower basement here at Baron.
Yeah, I think that this
Mumblebot
party
defeated before she separates. That gives Slippery a second goal completed.
Ruby in the basement. Ruby was the original king of Ebland all along.
We've now seen all 4 fiends and the elements. Novelist, of course, in the Dark Elf spot.
Slippery's taking that long walk out of the sealed cave, and Pancress decides he's going to take the quick reset out of that Ruby fight.
Gonna check out the weapon and armor shops here.
There's the mute knife that is going to make that Asura a lot easier. If Pancress decides to head back to the moon and find Mega Sisters at Cape Bahamut, also going to make that a lot easier.
Oh, for sure. Slippery walking out the glass helmet and his second objective complete. And we'll see where he decides to go with that. Oh, he decides to go over, use some of those sirens he's nicked to grind up a few levels on eggs.
It's a good time to do it with that 50% experience bump from completing 2 objectives. Why not get it in and then decide where you're going to go next? Meanwhile, Pancress is off to check the treasury.
See an Excalibur, a gold apple, a ribbon, and a moon veil.
Not bad. That Excalibur is a nice dart to replace the spoon that Pancress has already thrown.
Yes, especially because the crystal sword is in hand.
And can't be thrown anyway.
And Pancress going to check the Tower of Zot. I almost think, for his sake, the best thing that could be found at the end of this would be the tower key, which would point towards that upper tower.
Yeah, for Pancress definitely wants to find that tower key. We know that the Luca key does not lead to any further developments on Slippery's side, which is going to push him back into doing some of the checks that he had either avoided or faded earlier. So the sooner Pancress finds something that points him to tower, the better. Slippery knows exactly where he needs to go. He's got to go to the moon. He's going to get a bunch of key items once he pulls it off, but he's got to get the power to first to be comfortable to do it. I think that's what a lot of this is about right now.
Yeah, trying to get into Slippery's head here a bit. I think he might go after Luke again, being already here, or I might get proven wrong. There he goes. Never mind.
I almost think if you're going to go and take another stab at the Feymarch basement, you are going to want to be in a position to get 2, especially after bouncing off Dr. Lugia the first time.
And in the Magic Sister spot, we've got Bigan. Bigan's always an interesting fight wherever he pops up.
Yeah, one of the more traditional, difficult bosses to find on the moon. I don't think Pancress will have any problems here with the power that he's been able to amass. And of course, Crystal Sword, Cecil should, well, not quite yet powerful enough to do too much damage.
He's still level 1.
I suppose. You think the sword is everything, but I guess you need a couple levels.
Which he will get from this fight. Because he's still level 1.
Yeah,
Edge is throwing down 4-digit damage.
Yeah, I don't think that this... Yeah, there goes Bigan.
There he goes, yeah. And there's 16 levels.
16 levels on that Cecil should go a long way towards making him even more effective. Slippery is still shopping around. I wonder what he's looking for.
Again, there's Fusoya. Hello. At the top of the tower.
What do you think? Do you think that Fu is an option here? Or do you think that Pancress is just going to keep the party that he's assembled?
I suspect he'll stick with what he's got, but I could see Fu as a reasonable replacement. Well, got more. Well, there's both restricted characters right there at the top of tower.
There we go.
Yeah. And you got that Excalibur if you want the second Cecil online.
It's an option. It's something you could do.
Okay, he is taking Fu in place of. Well, he's thinking about taking 2 Cecils and a Fusoya. No, we're sticking with 1 Cecil and 1 Fusoya.
Pancress came.
Rydia has been let go. I was going to say, Pancress has had some problem keeping that Rydia alive in some fights, so that Fu would have a lot more hit points. Yeah. And Octomam in Valvelis' spot.
Yeah, Fu has more hit points. We do have the alt Fu on that gains spells as he levels, but there is an option here that he gains the levels, or he gains the spells sequentially, so they're not randomized. But Pancress has seen enough bosses that Fu has nuke. I don't think you're too upset about dropping that Rydia once you start nuking things.
No, I'm pretty sure this is a safe call. Slippery headed into the lunar subterrane, probably to check that Masamune altar, if nothing else.
It'll be interesting to ask Slippery later on how if he chooses to do an interview, how he feels about finding the officer soldier there after spending a lot of time to get quite a bit of power.
And now Fusoya, now Pancress has gone from 0 exit casters to 3. Fusoya, I missed the item.
It was the tower key.
Tower key, okay.
So that will likely push Pancress down to the tower. Will likely help Pancress get the Luca key, unless he decides to just do the bottom, which I think is very unlikely.
Here to... Is that grinding? Or is...
I would imagine that we're going to do a couple sirens to get that Cecil a little bit more power.
Right, it's almost like I just pointed out that Cecil was level 1 or something. It's like, why are we grinding? Oh, right, yes.
Curse ring on that Fu, so Fu will both anchor and be the nuke caster. What a lovely dichotomy there. And Slippery is going to go find that officer and soldier at the Masamune spot.
Oh, and he's going to start with a coffin on the officer.
That'll make that fight a little bit cleaner.
Yeah, for sure. And the officer, I believe, is worth 60% of the 60% of the experience or something, and he's going to life glitch it. So
nothing wrong with a little grind here as well for Slippery.
Oh, for sure. And Pancress picking up the nice rare Lit Bolt from that egg fight.
Yes, 102,000 experience for scrambling an egg. That's pretty good.
Yes, because Pancress now has 10 key items. He's getting double on top of the 50% bonus for having 2 objectives complete.
We know that at the top of this tower there's his 11th key item, but we do not know what's in the super cannon room, or behind, what you get after you complete the super cannon room, I should say. If that is the 12th key item, Pancress goes immediately to go mode, and I would imagine is going to head pretty much straight to C.
Yep. Slippery has completed the Masamune altar and got the Baron key.
Fighting the true boss of the Masamune altar, the inventory boss.
Always a trouble. And Slippery has also purchased some exits, which will mean that you won't have to walk out of here.
Yeah, there's a couple little efficiencies here, and Slippery, in what, despite bouncing off that fight earlier and routing a little bit more inefficiently, is still going to be the first 3 objectives, so pretty interesting.
have hailed him at the super cannon. No surprise, goes down in a single attack.
No dudes tonight, folks. Sorry.
Slippery saving and using a tent, so we'll probably be checking some of these side rooms here. Finding Mylan and friends.
I would think he gets through these a tiny bit faster than Pancress did. I'm not sure it's going to be enough to catch up.
Oh no, Pancress is walking down.
Oh no, Pancress.
Oh no. That makes this really interesting. We'll see what he gets from here. If this is a key item, I'm not sure where he goes next.
I would think the next thing he's going to do is clean up the summon item spots. Head to the bottom of the Fey March. But the only gating key item left is Rat Tail and the Pan. Neither of those are particularly long checks.
And what do we get for the tower key? The Pan.
There's 11 key items.
11, yeah.
If Pancress had done the top of tower, he would be 100% in go mode. But nothing that he can do now will get him there until he goes back and does the top of that tower.
Yep. He can get a 12th key item, but I'm not sure that will help him mentally. It will, obviously a 12th key item will put him in one more objective complete, but
yeah, the Penguinator strategy not paying out for Pancress tonight. Slippery is through the friends portion of Mylon and Friends, and Mylon himself is going to be 0 challenge. So because K Summon is on, this is a key item check here for Pancress. Pays off with the Adamant.
Yeah. And Slippery going to get 2 key items from beating Mylon, assuming, checking the treasure chest.
You've come all this way, Organ Mike. I would hope that Slippery does.
You don't just leave those behind. Pancress is going to check Sheila 2. Looking for that key to the sealed cave, which we know is at the top of tower that Pancress has just faded.
I am really curious to talk to Pancress about that after. I really hope we get an interview with him. The longer that he fades that, the more this seed Slippery comes back into it. So it'll be curious. Oh, the rat tail.
It's going to keep leading him in circles, man.
The chain continues.
Oh, no.
What do you think we're going to see for the rat tail?
Oh, clearly the legend sword.
Be perfect. That would be perfect, yeah. Slippery grabs his package and hook from behind Mylon and Friends at the... Oh, gee whiz. Remind me which boss that is, Organ
That's
Mike.
the ribbons. That's Lunar Dragons.
That's right.
I just remember that because there's 2 ribbons, and there's 2 Lunar Dragons, and there's 2 treasure chests.
You see, now I'm never going to forget.
There you are. And here's Ogopogo in the plague spot, and Pancress is getting the Dragoon armor for that. Okay. That's a little bit. So I'll bet you the Legend Sword is then, well, the Legend Sword will be behind either the elements at the Mursama altar or the Magus Sisters. Well, I guess it could be in the bottom of the summons, bottom of the Cave of Summons.
And the other place that we have left to see is that ruby in the Baron basement.
That's true, yes. There's more options than I was thinking. Yeah.
The more Pancress chases those summon monsters, the better a chance Slippery has of getting back at this thing. And that is really interesting because intentionally choosing to fade the top of tower, I would think that you are now saying that is the absolute last place I'm going to look for that Luca key. And we know that is not the right choice.
There's the question is, does Pancress go back there before going to check out the moon?
Yeah, that's the question. We'll have to see what happens when Pancress gets through these fights.
Slippery gets the Twin Heart. I imagine Slippery will probably fade that, since all he's doing is hunting for key items, and there's a bunch more options that take less time. We've got
Slippery
Pancress challenging Azura, the king of the summon monsters, at the moment.
Slippery's at 9 key items. We know Baron is going to lead him to Earth Key, or to Earth Crystal, which is going to lead to Tower Key. So we know that he can get very close just by following that tree.
Yep.
And Mute Knight on the edge makes Asura 0 problems. Pancress will be the first through that particular challenge.
Get a Dragoon Spear for it.
I would imagine this is starting to feel a little stressful for Pancress at this point.
Well, he's not feeling particularly threatened by that Queen of the Monsters, Dr. Luge. Slippery taking on the Karate in the Crystal Sword Altar.
Yeah, he brings a fair bit more power to this than was brought by Pancress, so I expect it to go fairly well.
Still got thumped pretty good, but he also got thumped pretty good on characters who have a whole lot more hit points.
Well, the hit points help.
Blue Eye and Bald Apple will not be too much of a challenge for Pancress.
Yeah, he gets through the first portion without triggering the second phase, which is very good. Again, I don't expect this to take too long with the second phase.
And the Karate is down for Slippery, and Rosa has white. Luge didn't even get a chance to transform for Pancress. Slippery has a Murasama, which probably feels good with all those edges. And there's the Legend Sword.
Pancress says, no thanks, I don't need to visit Kokol today.
Yeah.
I just need a Luca key.
Oh,
So
no.
he's going to go, I would guess, Baron Basement next. Yeah.
The basement seems logical. And he's still, he's got the elements in the Murasama altar that he backed out of, and he's got Magus Sisters and Cave Bahamut that he has not seen yet. And Slippery is going to head over, I bet, to take on the elements. Not that he knows that's what's there, but that's what's there.
Curious to see if Slippery tries to get through it.
If I'm Slippery, I'm thinking I need 2 key items and I'm already on the moon. So, if there's a key item here and at Cave Bahamut, I'm straight down to Zeromus.
Yeah, I think that's pretty accurate. He does have to pass, so it's not the end of the world if he has to go back to the blue planet. But, and I think it's 3, so I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I think it's 3 key items he needs, so...
Does the pass not count as one?
I don't think so. Let me look.
Well, in which case, yeah, he's going back. In which case, he still can say, hey, well, if I can get 2 key items while I'm up here. Apparently the pass does not count as one, so yes, he's got 9 out of 12.
Something in my brain is telling me that's a 5.0 flag. But
Pancress has defeated Rubicant in Odin's throne.
Slippery's gotten all the way to the turtle. Pancress gets the pink
tail, which
No thanks.
Yeah, does not carry a key item check behind it. Oh, and Pancress is going to that tower. Okay.
Pancress is now on the path to go mode. Slippery is on a clock, and I would think this moves Pancress firmly into the lead.
Especially with that only being a crystal bracelet.
Slippery really needs.
At this point, we know where all the key items are. So we know if Slippery wants to stay in this, he doesn't have time to check the Magus Sisters.
Unless the Magus Sisters pay out with, yeah, you're absolutely right. Actually, yeah, 100%. He's got. Yeah, so that is going to cost Slippery some time. Understandable. You're on the moon. You want to get the moon cleared.
Yeah, check it while you're there, especially with the pass. You don't have to come back. So
we know the path to victory is on the blue planet. So Pancress should not have any difficulties with this Odin. Picked up a Thunderclaw earlier. Should rip through it pretty quickly.
Slippery remembering to save before taking on the challenging fight that will be the Magus Sisters in Cave Bahamut.
Pancress says, "Give me my Luca key." Throws, I believe that was the Excalibur that just got tossed.
I think so, yeah. Sandy, Cindy, and Mindy line up to take on Slippery.
Yeah, tough fight. Slippery doesn't have that mutant knife that Pancress has. So I think this is going to be a pretty big time sink.
Mindy did not do a lot of damage on her fire spell.
No, this is the Bahamut spot, so not the hugest amount of magic power. Certainly very survivable by Slippery, but needs to get the damage out without triggering those restores as well.
It's just going to take time.
Unfortunately, Slippery, time's the one thing he doesn't have.
She doesn't have very much. I mean, we can never count Zeromus out. Zeromus is a dangerous fight even to experienced players, even with a powerful team. A little slip here or there, and it's reset. So, but that being said, everyone here knows what they're doing. While we can never count Zeromus out, I also am not counting Pancress out.
We've got two fantastic runners here. I've seen Pancress and Slippery both run some incredible races in the past, so I have absolutely no doubt we're going to see the best they can bring for the rest of this race.
Oh, for sure.
So while Pancress is making that long walk down, just want to take a moment to once again shout out our incredible restreamer, Dave, and say big thanks to Beauty and Discovery who's tracking along. Folks, if you are watching and you are interested, there are links in the chat. You can join our Discord, come hang out with us, learn to race if you've never raced before. If you're interested in joining the Restream team, there's links in there to do so as well. So we would love to see the community grow.
And Slippery finds the Excalibur behind the Magus Sisters and makes his way back to the blue planet.
I would have to think that's straight to the Baron Key.
That would be the logical choice, I would think. Yeah, it doesn't have anything else that's sitting there. Well, Twin Heart was the other one, I guess. The Baron Key is a faster check, faster 2 checks, in fact.
Yeah, I think that's the advantage I would see. We know that going underground is not necessarily as productive as well, so Slippery making the better check possible. Pancress picks up that glass helmet and will fight the Mom Bomb, and then we'll be in go mode.
Slippery is going to get Earth Crystal behind Baron Key.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah, the Earth Crystal, which then leads to Tower Key, which will be still one short.
tower key goes to Pan, if I recall correctly.
It does. Been interesting back and forth this whole race. There goes Mom Bomb, which will put Pancress immediately into no mode.
That's right. Crystal in hand, Pancress gets to warp out of here because he has Fu, and I expect we'll then see him head right to Troya to open the pass barricaded door.
But I mean, he's not going to go all the way back up to the subterranean.
Well, I mean, you've walked it once. That's really enough.
He's seen the sights, you know, it's like any other tourist spot. Slippery going to find that Vanilla Kenatsu on the Baron Throne.
Now, if Slippery does go and take the Baron basement here, could pick up that pink tail. That immediately becomes your 11th key item, and then that gets a little bit faster if he, as he runs through, presumably runs through the Tower of Zot.
Pancress is going to have a big time advantage going into Zeromus.
Yes, I would expect this is at least a couple Z fights advantage at this point.
Now, how does only having 4 characters change the calculus for fighting Zeromus?
I suppose that depends on the runner. Obviously, you're going to need a little bit more damage per round, but Pancress has accumulated a good amount of experience and has some very powerful characters. So I do expect that if things go the way Pancress wants, this is going to be a pretty solid fight.
Slippery picking up an Earth Crystal. We'll see if he charges down to take on Rubicant. While Pancress is starting on Zeromus. And I'm not seeing a whole bunch of emotes in the chat. Strangely.
No Z flags. I'm guessing that people know what we're about to say. Morgan Mike.
So what happens here is that Zeromus is far too dangerous to randomize into the normal boss pool. So instead of randomizing where Zeromus is, we randomize who Zeromus is. When that crystal is used, his true colors will be revealed, and it will be one of several hundred randomized sprites with a cute name attached to it that we can all laugh about in a moment or two.
That's right, and we're about to find out whose butt we're going to kick.
Fusuya with the bitch. True colors are emerging. We see a Gur-Erg. And here's the explosion, and it's, I don't know what that is. Defactimus.
Yep. Chat, help out.
Yeah, no clue. Slippery taking on Rubicant on the other side, and got a Moon Veil coming in for Fusuya. Silk Web to nerf that first Big Bang. The way that works is that when Zeromus casts a nuke, he changes his magic power so that the nuke doesn't do 27,000 damage. But by changing his magic power, he's also reduced his magic power for the incoming Big Bang, which means that this first one, anyway, is very easy to do and will do less damage. Later ones require very specific timing, but I'm not sure that that very specific timing is really going to matter all that much, because Pancress has thrown a wall up on Fusuya and is going to throw whites against that wall. Will do a lot of damage.
Big thanks to Lord Cooper, who says this is a boss character from East 3. I think I said that right? YS3?
Yeah, I think it's East.
East, yeah. I don't think I've ever said it aloud before. Yeah, Reflect hybrid strats here are going to just throw out a bunch of damage. we will likely see Zeromus tip over very quickly into the refill if the reflex strat doesn't quite get it. And then...
Yeah. So Zeromus normally would respond to white, I think, with weak, yes?
I think that's right. You know what? I'm not sure I've ever hit Zeromus with white directly.
Oh, I have. I've hit him with just about everything. But yeah, this, he responds to white with some sort of massive counterattack, but because you've reflected it, anything reflected does not trigger a reaction. So his massive counterattack would be a reaction. Rubicon down for Slippery. On the other side.
Slippery will get that pink tail. And then we'll be one key item away from getting his crystal. We see a shake from Zeromus. Could be getting ready to Big Bang again, but I would imagine we're going to see a phase tip here. Oh, nope,
There's
not quite.
And it will be unnerved. It's going to be enough to mop the Fusoya. Rose is still up. The two fighters are still fighting. And there he goes. That is Pancress defeating Defactimus. Running a good race.
That last Big Bang was Zeromus' last gasp, as Pancress will take this one. Just waiting on the official times, but GG's to Pancress for running a pretty darn clean race and a really, really clean Z fight.
Oh, definitely. Slippery checking out that pigtail. Getting an adamant armor for it.
I believe it's default adamants in this one. This is the Adamant Cup experience. Let's see, are we going to be able to get an interview from Pancress tonight?
We'll see where Slippery's going in the meantime.
Yep. Looks like Slippery's...
Gonna check that tower. The tower key's a quick check normally.
Oh, don't think he got the tower key.
Oh no, yes.
Looks like he's gonna take his last siren and then maybe go check the...
Tower key's behind the Earth Crystal, which means once he does the Earth Crystal, he's done.
I wouldn't be surprised if... Oh, looks like we have been joined by Pancress. GG's, Pancress.
Well done.
Yeah, GG's. What a silly little seed. A silly little closeout.
I want to get to the top of tower decision making, but first I want to talk about just the really bold decision to get that darkness crystal from Sheila 1 and then head straight to the Massa altar. What were you hoping to run into there, and kind of what did you think was going to happen?
I was hoping to run into basically any one of the doable fights that were kind of on my radar. Kaipo Guards, honestly, was the best case scenario, I'll admit that. But something like a, looking at my boss list, an Octomam, which I hadn't seen at that point, Odin, which I hadn't seen at that point, although I didn't really have a Thunderclaw, Leviathan, Plague, Pale Dim, any of those like physical punchy bosses that I could just slowly whittle down with my edge and kind of lean on that power and use that to kind of kickstart doing the rest of the moon. And if it wasn't Massa Altar that had that exactly, you know, check Ribbon, check Blade, find something there. Don't save over the save that I had outside. That was a complete accident, but I just wanted to dive the moon once I got that Darkness Crystal because of how many Zongs had started showing up. There were a lot of key items out there somewhere in the world, and I figured we're going to go moon diving at some point. Let's just go, go, go. This felt pretty good at about the 47-minute mark.
Yeah, you definitely... There was quite a lot of key items on the moon. I think the only check you completed that didn't pay out was the Crystal Sword, so walking out with 4 key items was really, really great to get you ahead there. And then it was back to Earth. You did Baron and Earth and got the tower key, and then chose to fade the top of tower for a while. You want to walk us through that?
Mostly it's continuing the play that I had made by going to the moon. Chase, like, if I'm doing top of tower at that point, I'm kind of hedging my bets, which would have helped out. But I figured that I would just chase the tower key, well, continue chasing the moon play to its eventual conclusion, wherever that went. And then tower key to pan to rat tail to well, a little bit troublesome, but it told me that a bunch of key items were gated by it. Now I'm at that 12 mark. I don't quite want to reset yet. It's probably faster to reset and just redo the tower key if I need to, but I figured I'd clean up some of the other checks, knowing that Slippery isn't done quite yet. See what did I miss on Earth between those Feymarch spots and the Rubicant that I foolishly threw away my Ice Claw right before it showed up, and to see, where in the world is Luca San Diego?
I think you're better at doing commentary than I was. I missed the Ice Claw being tossed away. Was there any thought of going to the moon before doing top of tower, or was it always going to be clear out the summon spots on Earth, then top of tower, then moon?
It was probably top of tower, then moon. I had skipped that, skipped the element spot at Mura. Figured we can put that off for a little bit longer. I specifically didn't take the second Cecil so I could dart my Excal and Drain Spear at that Rubicant, knowing that, it would be a little bit faster than going and picking back up that Ice Claw. So I figured I'd go and check that beforehand. And then between going to the moon, doing cutscenes, coming back, I didn't want to deal with that. I figured I would just finish the one check that I had left on Earth before going back up there. Like, it's a 1 in 3 at that point. I have one key item left in the game, which is exactly the Luca key. I've found everything else. Let's see if it's up here. And save me a couple minutes.
What did it feel like when you did get the Luca key? Realizing it was a fade earlier.
Oh, a couple choice words. Can't repeat them here. The usual.
I was going to ask about not taking the second Cecil, because we saw you get very close to making that decision and then back off of it, but you kind of explained that value decision. Was there anything else that went through your mind at that moment?
Partly that I'd either have to do something really jank to double glitch a Crystal Sword. I'd either have to do an Excal, which is going to be about the same strength as my Edge with all of these levels, and I didn't want to go get more Sirens for more grinding. So I figured I would just lean into what I have. It would be about equal power if I did an Excal. It would maybe be a little bit more if I took the Cecil and did a Crystal Sword, but I would lose out on probably 1,000 hit points and a few other things. And I figured I still wanted Dart. I still wanted a little bit of the utility that Edge could offer and see what could show up. It's always very, very tempting to run the double Cecil. It's one of my favorite parties of like double Cecil, Edge, Anchor, but I also would have been just shy of Bacchus Wines if I went to that route. There's a lot of just those little considerations where I can see the defense in taking 2 Cecils. It's a strong party. I can see the case for not taking 2 Cecils. It's a strong party. I don't think there's a wrong decision.
Absolutely not. I was just, wondering what was going on. Organ Mike, do you have any thoughts or questions for Pancress?
Not particularly. I'm enjoying listening to him deconstruct this scene. So.
Well, I think I'm pretty much out of questions as well. Pancress, thank you again for joining us. Any final thoughts on this very interesting seed?
Oh, I've managed to avoid the true Adamant Cup experience for a little bit, which is looking everywhere for the one key item you need and ending at 26 of 28 checks until this seed. So thank you, Dave. It was a fun one. Always good to get a little bit of a blast from the past and remember, just some of the fun that Adamant Cup can provide. Appreciate it all. It was a blast. Thank you, Slippery, for working with my schedule, and GG's again. Thank you, Organ Mike and Veritas. I look forward to watching back the comms. Thank you, Beauty. Thank you, Dave. Thank you, everybody behind the scenes putting things on over here. And appreciate you all. You all have a great rest of the night, and I'll see you for 2 races next week. Woohoo!
Yeah, you too, and thank you for running. We wouldn't have much to do if you weren't here, if you all weren't running, so...
Of course, I always love to put on a show.
Thanks so much, Pancress, and GG's again.
Thank you.
Congrats. Meanwhile, Slippery has got the Legend Sword from Dr. Luge, and has headed up to talk to Zeromus. with
Yes.
3 fighters and Rosa. We'll see how this goes. Again, Zeromus, no joke. But certainly, this looks like it should be pretty solid.
I think we missed Slippery taking the Cecil, replacing... was it still... Was De Jong still? Oh man, that was a long time ago. I can't remember.
That was a while ago, yeah.
But very quickly got that Cecil up to speed with that experience point boost, a couple sirens in that fight against Dr. Luge. Expect this fight will go pretty smoothly. We will have to see if there's any challenges, but I think it's just going to be Bacchus Wines and Cure 4s all around.
That's fine. Take this nice and easy. It's been a long, challenging siege. It's going to put that Avenger on the Cecil, use a Silk Web to nerf the first Big Bang, and I suspect either a Bacchus Wine or a Berserk Cast will come for that second edge. And then I think Rosa will take care of healing and let the other 3 do what they do. And that's all I'd do after running this siege. I would sit back and relax and let the fighters do the fighting.
I am not a skilled enough runner to complete a Zeromus fight with a underleveled party. I cannot do Fu and Friends. My favorite strategy is to get way too many levels, the biggest sticks I can find, and hit Zeromus with it until he sinks into the clouds.
That was 300 hit point, or 400 damage Big Bang on Cecil right there. That was.
I think Cecil must have the adamant on.
He does, yes.
So that would pretty much make him invulnerable for the rest of this fight.
Those 3 fighters are outputting about 12,000 damage around.
Yeah, Zeromus. Yeah, or more, depending.
So as a reaction ability, Zeromus refills his hit points whenever he's taken, more than 48,000 damage or something?
Yeah, I can't remember the exact number.
64,000,
yeah. But and then that's because the game, of course, being programmed in the 16-bit era, there was a logical cap on hit points at 64,000, so the intention was to give Zeromus about 100,000 hit points, of which he has none left.
Yeah, he has 0 now.
That's right.
But yes, the idea then being that a 10,000 point hit couldn't kill him outright without getting that refill.
That's right, but very, very clean Z fight from Slippery. Zeromus goes down. We'll get that final time here in a moment, and then we'll see if Slippery's interested in jumping in and having a chat with us.
GG's to Slippery in an excellent fight. And an excellently run race from both runners.
138.48, so that's about 11 minutes behind Pancress. I think when you add in the early bounce off that Dr. Luge, I don't think that's a bad time at all for what was a really difficult seed.
And Zeromus insisting that he will not perish as he perishes.
He talks a big game.
And then flickers out.
Right. Well, while we're waiting, Organ Mike, what do you think? Any final thoughts on just the challenge of that particular seed?
I think the seed was a bit rude in its way, forcing the runners to go up ordeals to essentially no benefit except the magma key, with no other way to get any sort of path down to the underground, and then hiding progression either behind Sheila 1 or the top of the tower. It was definitely interesting. Any sort of path.
Absolutely. And we're joined by Slippery GGs.
Hey, thanks a lot.
Yeah, congrats.
Yeah, those. I looked at the objective set at the top of the seed and thought, man, this might be a
Absolutely.
sub-hour
We're
finish.
joined by
But no, they
Slippery
buried those
GG.
key items today.
It was quite the race to find those key items, and boy, there was just zonk after zonk early. What did it feel like when you got underground and bounced off of that Dr. Luge fight for the first time?
I'm sure somebody probably in chat mentioned it, but I totally forgot I had a spoon to throw at him, and I realized it like 5 minutes after I gave up on the fight. So that would have probably saved me 5 or 6 minutes of key item hunting, but it is what it is.
Honestly, I had forgotten you had the spoon, so don't feel too bad. You went up the tower, made the choice to do Keyless Tower pretty early on, and it paid off with the Luca key. What were you feeling at that point?
I was feeling like maybe the routing gods were kind to me, but then I kind of realized afterwards, well, Pancress, if he didn't go Keyless Tower, he probably went Moon, and I got to go to the Moon anyway to go key item hunting, because there aren't very many other options at the time. So it ended up being sort of equal. But on the upside, I did have the benefit of that 25% XP boost thanks to the new flag in this fork, which did help me get my rather underleveled party up to snuff, which I liked.
Yeah, we were talking about getting that Luca check-in and how it was going to benefit your XP quite a bit. When you did get to the Mass Altar and you found it was officer soldiers, the Kaipo guards, did you feel like maybe you could have taken a bigger risk earlier on?
I think so. My feelings there were, I broke a couple of eggs before going to the Moon, and I figured, well, yeah, I probably could have skipped that, but otherwise, yeah, it was pretty neutral. I was a little dismayed. It's like, oh man, I wish Moon wasn't quite so free because I know my opponent's probably going here first, but yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah, well, it was fun to watch. Definitely a well-run race on both sides. And do you have any final thoughts on the whole seed or the event as a whole?
Really digging the event as a whole. I mean, this is a flag set I rather enjoy playing. It rewards loot goblins like myself. Oftentimes, not every time, but I definitely enjoy the variety and sort of throwing a wrench into the typical, I don't know, tournament meta, which I think is really cool. So thanks to the all the devs and all the tournament organizers for getting this thing going.
I definitely noticed that you had picked up quite a bit of loot, but your power levels from loot were significantly more so than Pancress's for most of the seed. So I think it was an advantage in the end. So yeah, definitely glad to hear that you love getting that treasure, because that seems to be a big part of this one. So way to go, GG's again.
Yeah, and GG to Pancress. Unfortunately, wasn't able to get revenge on my Zemus Zone 3 loss to him, but it was fun matching up once again.
It was fun to watch.
Yeah, thanks so much for running, Slippery. It was a pleasure to watch you and to get to commentate for your race tonight.
Right on. Cheers, everyone.
Take care.
I think that about does it for us then. I imagine we've got possibly a message here as to.
So we'll be winding things down here tonight. But tomorrow we want to let you know there is a restream at 9 EST on twitch.tv/freeenterprise. Folks, we want to thank you very much for hanging out with myself and Organ Mike tonight. Organ Mike, you know what? A lot of fun. Thank you again for doing this with me.
Always a fun. Thank you, Veritas Knight. And, of course, thank you to NG Dave I cannot remember. I don't have the names in front of me.
Beauty.
Beauty. Beauty and Discovery. Thank you to NG Dave and Beauty and Discovery for running things in the back end. And thanks, Veritas Knight. Always a pleasure to work with you. Thank you to our runners. Give them a follow. And, yeah, we'll be back again tomorrow at 9 Eastern, 8 Central. And I need to know that it's 8 Central because I'll be on the mic again.
It'll be well called again. Thanks again to you, Organ Mike, and to Beauty and NG Dave for running the restream and tracking Pancress and Slippery. Folks, have yourself a great night, and we will see you very soon. Take care.
Have a good night.